Hey everybody, and welcome. My name is Pete Renzulli. Welcome to today's Stock Market Live. Welcome to Stock Trading Pro. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Number one on the list today, with the rally that we've had in the market this week, there's been a lot of what we would call holding the bid, where the sellers have come in and tried to push the market down and just have not been able to do it. So are the buyers back? Is the crash of 2022 over? What's going on? What stocks should we be trading? Hopefully you've been paying attention to the emails that we've been sending out, as well as the live stream. We've been talking about healthcare stocks all week. They've been on fire. A couple of other sectors we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about a book. It is Friday. Every Friday we discuss our coaching call from Thursday night, where I try and give you as many good ideas as possible to elevate your trading, improve your trading, so that you're starting to see consistent results. We got a big thing from last night. I got really fired up last night. We're going to talk about Elon Musk and whether or not he is actually hurting Tesla right now with all this other stuff that he's doing. And we're going to talk about the bank stress test. And we're going to actually give you a list of stocks to pay attention to now that the bank stress test is out of the way. Create a list now before you need it, so that if the buyers step back in and the pressure on that particular group, which has been amazing, they have not rallied at all. Banks, anything that has interest rates tied to it as the margin that they're getting, and that interest rates start to expand, those companies should technically rally, and they haven't. So it's going to be really interesting to see, is the bank stress test, now that it's out of the way and they passed, which stocks should we trade, and more importantly, how we would be looking to trade them. So we got a ton of stuff to uncover today. I'm really fired up. Futures are up again. But again, is the stock market crash over? Have the bulls step back in? We're going to dive into that in a deep way. But here's the biggest thing that I want to make sure we talk about today. How do you know whether or not the rally is got a little bit of teeth, or is this simply a bear flag in the big picture and ready to go down again? That's the big thing we're going to talk about here today. So stick around. I'll be back in just 2 seconds. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me here today, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. We're actually going to start out with a little bit of news, and then we're going to hop on over into the we're going to hop right over into the stocks, because that's really one of the biggest things we want to talk about today. But last night's coaching call had a really big element of people feeling like they've been getting beat up recently and just haven't had the confidence that they had maybe even a month ago. And we're going to touch on that. There's a really big topic that we brought. And I'm going to give you a chance to snapshot this. So just take a quick snapshot of this if you want the questions from last night. So you can see this is the session from last night. And right there is the end of it. So you can get an idea of all the questions. So you can make sure you snapshot that. But the biggest thing that I want to talk about is this: spotting the difference between a tough market and bad trading. And more importantly, this. Okay, we're going to spend some time talking about that. Now, that ties into a book recommendation that I'm going to make for everybody today. And it's one of the most impactful books that I think I've ever read. We spend a lot of time talking about Think and Grow Rich and Anthony Robbins and T. Harv Eker and those kind of personal motivation people. But there's one that came out probably around 3 years ago that has been on the bestseller list, I think, for almost the entire 3 years that the book has been out. And it's this one right here, Atomic Habits, by James Clear. If you haven't if you haven't bought this one yet, I think it's in paperback at this point. I just recently read a quote by Warren Buffett, and he said, "I don't need to be smarter than everybody. I just need to be more disciplined than everybody." And I think that that's fascinating, because if you think about it, a lot of people say that Warren Buffett had the benefit of this massive bull rally. Well, you know what? A lot of people had that same bull rally and didn't make anything even close to what Warren Buffett did. So there's a lot of sense in that being disciplined is what makes the difference. And I'm also going to share something with you right now that is very, very important, that really brings this point home, because habit, discipline, whichever one of those two things you want to call it. And by the way, I don't recommend books lightly. This book is life-changing, okay? I want to share something from yesterday that was posted by one of our members, and I'm not sure if Mark Cook is with us here today, but it's the little difference that makes all of the difference for whether or not you're getting paid versus whether or not you know everything about trading, but you don't get paid. And I'm going to share this with you right now. If you could just give me 1 second, because it matters, okay? So this is something from Mark Cook. This is actually from last night. And one of the biggest things that we do in our communities, we talk about having the structure, and then obviously we're talking about now about the structure of following the rules. So one of the things that Mark is talking about here is the profit maximizer, which is a big part of what we do. And in this particular case here, the trend profit maximizer. So if you remember what we just talked about before, that there's different market conditions and you need to understand what type of condition you're in and then understand what kind of profit targets you should be going for within those market conditions. So the stock that Mark is trading, and let's actually just take a look at that stock. I want to pull that up on the screen so we can get an idea of the conditions that we're talking about. We're talking about OLLI, which is one of the trades that we've had in our watch list for a while. So Mark's been in the stock and it pulled back for a couple of days, and you kind of have in your mind that, wow, the rally is awesome, but one down day, you're like, oh, I better get out and book that quick profit because I'm afraid it's going to be taken away. And sometimes that happens. But remember, we just talked about Warren Buffett. We talked about the discipline, right? He says he's not smarter than everybody else, but he's got better discipline to hold on to the winners. So I want you to screenshot what Mark put in here because it's really important. I'll bet you it will affect a lot of people here in a positive way. Rigidly stuck to the trend trading profit maximizer, came storming back today to a new 6-month high. Thank you for making me believe in holding on to the winners. It feels good to have a swing trade. Now, this is just amazing for so many different levels, especially because of the kind of market condition in Mark's in a right trade that we had in our research that we give everybody every day. But more importantly, he had the discipline to trust the system. And this is a quote that I want you to write down, whether you're investing or whether you're trading stocks, is that long-term success in the stock market comes from, number one, having an edge, but number two, following the edge. And that's why a lot of people who have trading strategies just don't make money, is because they don't actually follow it. In our heads, we think we do, but sometimes you take these trades that are complete garbage and we kind of justify themselves to ourselves and we forget we made those trades and we still believe we're doing everything right. We put on good trades and we don't hold them long enough because we got scared the profit was going to get taken away from us. Maybe we see $1,000 profit and we pull it off the table because we're afraid that it's going to disappear. And that's real money, right? I understand that. But if you go back to what Mark says here, for making me believe in holding on to winners. So think about that statement and think about the last winning trade that you have. Raise your hand. And I know I've done it, so I'm raising my hand right now as well. Earlier in my career, where you talk about you got a good trade, you get out of it, you feel good about yourself because you did the hard work and you made money on the position. And then you watch the thing continue to go up for the next 5 days, 2 weeks, maybe even a month or longer. And you turned a $5,000 or a $10,000 trading profit into $1,500 because you didn't have the discipline to believe that it's the winning trades. And as we talked about on Tuesday, it's the exits where the money is made in trading. So I thought it was actually kind of cool that I could share that. That's literally from Mark yesterday. So we're actually going to jump now into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today, including the bank stress test, and we're going to actually get into a bunch of stocks so that you have stuff to trade for today and actually stuff to think about for the following week or so. Now, we talked about the healthcare stocks all week. If you go back to Tuesday, we talked about that on Tuesday. If you go back to Tuesday, we also said inflation report out, crushed the market, right? Stock market crash. Interest rates, big interest rate hike, stock market crash, right? We did say on Tuesday that all of that bad news was out and we were expecting a relief rally this week, which as of right now we're getting, and the game plan has been pretty spot on this week. Now, here's the thing. That was the game plan. It unfolded properly. When that happens, you have to have the guts to say, I did all that work and now I'm going to trade with conviction. The challenge that people have had in the stock market in 2022, when they find the best stocks, they don't have a system in place to tell them when it changed, which is what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to map out next week today and determine whether or not we are still going to hang on to some of the swing trades, which, by the way, the electric vehicle stocks and all of those other stocks, other than Tesla, by the way, NEO, XPEV, LI, which has had amazing relative strength, BLNK, CHPT, some tangential stocks in that area, they've been on fire. But if you remember what we talk about, and I'll just give you a quick look at this, just to share this with you very quickly. When you're setting up your trading ideas, You need to know the difference between what is your objective for the trade, day trade, swing trade, investment, whatever it happens to be. There's a situation, and we have that right now in a lot of the healthcare stocks and the electric vehicle stocks, specifically the Chinese electric vehicle stocks, where they are super, super obvious over the last week or two, but now they are well beyond the optimal entry for a new swing trade. So when you're creating your game plan and you're putting everything into your watch list, and I'll show you the watch list in just 1 second, you need to determine whether or not there is still room to go on the time frame that you plan to trade it. So for a day trade, I need to know what the stock normally does before I hit buy to know that I have good profit potential and likely profit potential. For a swing trade, you could spot some ideas, run all your scans and say, okay, this stock is obvious, it's screaming. But then you got to ask the next question, what does the stock normally do as I'm about to hit buy? Is there still profit potential? So when we talk about that, and again, if you want, you could take a screenshot of this. When we talk about that, I talk about a trade that's called a bullish echo. So we have a lot of ideas where obviously on the long side, but too far from the optimal entry for a new swing trade, but they're okay for a day trade. So we're talking about that here in the electric vehicle stocks where they have pushed up higher, and actually NIO has paused, but now we got this resistance here. I think the biggest one I'm talking about now is LI. It's really obvious and up higher again this morning, which is absolutely amazing. But here's the question, and here's the challenge, that this is the mental part of trading, is if I buy this stock right now, which has had a massive percent move for this month, and maybe even the last 4 to 6 weeks, what are the odds that a realistic profit target will get hit before it gets stopped out? So it's the first part of the trade is stacking the order flow in your favor. The second part is what we're talking about right now, which is building an argument that your trading target will be hit more likely than your stop loss. Now, when a stock has gone that far recently, that means you missed the good entry. So now you have to do one of two things. You either lower your initial share size, expecting it to pause because of what it normally does and how far and how fast it went, or you wait for the pause and then you look for the next entry. So we could take a look at some of the healthcare stocks, which have done that recently as well, where these stocks would meet a bullish echo criteria, but would not necessarily be a stock that I would be looking to put on a new swing trade. Number one is well beyond the optimal entry. You can see what the stock normally does, and it has some resistance just up ahead. So these are the things that we need to consider before we hit buy. Look, we got a lot of smart people on the call, and of course, I'm very grateful that you're here with me every day, whether you're live or watching the video. But the last part of all that hard work that you're doing is you have to ask yourself, if I buy this stock right now, if I determine this is one of the best stocks to buy right now, what are the odds of me making money? Not only from, is it bullish, but if I buy right now, what is the next likely move? Now, obviously, if you like it and it's pushing up in that direction, obviously the direction right now in this case is bullish. But if you buy it right now, what is the next likely move? Your target on the downside or the target on your upside? We talked Tuesday and we got really heated on that about the exit is where the money's made, but you still need to have the right entry so that you don't get shaken out of a good trade to hang on to a good trade longer. Okay, so it's very, very important. So, one other thing that I want to talk about while I have your attention on the beginning of the call here is I'm actually going to be speaking at an event. So it's the Wealth 365 Summit. It is in July. I believe I'm speaking on July 14th. If you'd like to learn more about order flow, why stocks move up and down, there's a link below the video. Make sure you subscribe for that. It's actually a 6-day event where there's speakers from 8 o'clock in the morning, I think, until 5 o'clock or something like that in the afternoon. So click the link below the video. I'm speaking, I think, on Thursday, but there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there. There's plenty of education besides the stuff that I'm going to talk about. So if you have a chance anytime today or whenever you have a chance, click down and make sure you register for that event. All right, so what I'm going to actually talk about now is we're actually going to get a little bit into setting up some ideas for the week. But I want to touch on this headline, all right? Stock futures rise as rate hike expectations cool. Contracts on the S&P closing test positive for the week, right? We're positive for the week. The bear market has not reversed. I just can't say that any other way. Rate hike expectations cool. Now, this is where you need to really be smart about when you're reading headlines. Rate hike expectations that does not mean that they're not going to raise it. They are absolutely going to raise interest rates. Next, numbers that come out for CPI, that's going to matter. Okay. Are they going to raise interest rates? Absolutely. It's a question of how much. Now, think about this. You just read that headline off the top of your head and you're like, oh, great. Things are cooling off. The market's rallying this week. I can start buying a little bit more aggressively. I could feel a little bit more comfortable about dipping my toes back in. We're not there yet. What we need to see, we have this rally now. You need to have in your mind, if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, then I plan to do this, right? So what do we need to see in price action on the charts right now to start to feel that we are bottoming out and getting a chance now to look to buy some stocks? Today, this is only 1 week of buying and it's a short week. So remember what we said on Tuesday, all of that negative news is now priced into the market, but we're getting the relief rally. We said it was a relief rally. So if you listen to everything that we talk about and you're a regular viewer of the channel, and by the way, if you haven't done so, please do me a favor and hit subscribe and hit that like button. If we're providing some value for you, I would appreciate it. What we need to see now next week is we need to see, first we need to finish strong this week. We need to close above Tuesday's opening price. Now, this is how you map out your success before the stock market and before the week opens. On Tuesday morning, if you listen to that video, we said we're looking for the market to stay above the opening price on Tuesday. And other than the opening on Wednesday, we've pretty much been there the whole time. Actually, pre-market was there, came storming back. So let's actually take a look at the charts and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if we hop on over here and we take a look at the SPY. So if we go over to the SPY and you remember what we talked about on Tuesday before the market opened, we said as long as we're above the opening price here, I'm going to be looking for buying opportunities, and there's going to be some opportunities in multiple different scenarios. And again, we talked about healthcare and we talked about this stock in the healthcare industry. If you haven't taken advantage of this stock over the last few days, this is the kind of things that you can take advantage of on a short-term basis when you understand how to stack the order flow. But if we get back into Tuesday's opening, other than the opening on Wednesday pre-market, that's the only time the entire week we were below that. So again, think about how you're setting up your trading. It doesn't matter if you're a day trader or a swing trader. You need to have the confidence in your strategy to say, this is what I need to see. If I see it, then I plan to trade confidently. This is what I need to see. If I don't see it, then I have to either adjust my plan or not trade. Smart traders in the current market conditions right now are planning buying opportunities and short selling opportunities. You have to be hedged on both sides of the market. You should be looking at trades on both sides of the market. And I'll give you an example. We just showed you NVAX, right? So we just showed you the opportunity in NVAX yesterday. And yesterday, this stock and the entire group of stocks were getting pounded. Okay, so you can see over here the big move to the downside. So professional traders are setting up opportunities on the bullish side of the market and the bearish side of the market until the market otherwise tells us we're heading in the other direction. So I just want to give you an idea, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the community. I want to show you the trades. We get a lot of questions about trade setups and ideas and entries and exits and that kind of stuff. So I just want to show you how I walk members. So again, this is to inspire you a little bit on how to manage actively your position. So I'm going to show you behind the scenes right now into yesterday. So I'm not just talking about it after the fact. You can see that this was yesterday's price action. You can see all the trade ideas that we called out yesterday. But CVX, you can actually see the entry all the way up here. I forgot what time that was, but it was right in the morning of the day, like within the first half hour of the day. And then you can see the trade management as we're working our way down, moving the stop loss, moving the stop loss, moving it down, moving it down, moving it down, and taking the profit. So both sides of the market need to be planned for. So when you're running your scans at night right now, obviously the dominant pressure is to the bearish side. So that means that we're looking at bigger picture order flow. Whether you use candlesticks on the weekly and monthly chart or whether you use moving averages such as the 50 and the 200, plan for both sides of the market so that if the market is strong and the market internals are supporting that, like we had in the last 2 hours of the day yesterday. So if we go over to the picture of the market and you see this kind of buying pressure for 2.5 hours of the day, we had 2 hours of selling and then 2.5 hours of buying. Now, are we flip-flopping? Heck no, we are prepared. We're looking at both sides of the market, and we have those lists already prepared before the market opens. If the market is strong, again, it doesn't matter if it's day trading or swing trading. You're just changing the time frames that matter to you for order flow and how you're stacking that order flow. If the market opens and it's trading weak, you already have your list of stocks that you plan to short sell. And we did for a few hours. And then when the market bottomed out and the market internals gave us conviction that now the buyers step back in, and again, you see this for this 2-hour period, 2.5-hour period here, and the market internals kick in, you already have your watch list of those stocks. So when you properly set your game plan together, after the market opens, after the week opens, and I'm going to say something pretty strong here that a lot of people might not believe. So I'm going to say it anyway because our community is proving it, all right? When you are prepared, when you have an edge, when you understand tape reading, when you understand order flow, and when you understand how to create a game plan, and the last part, which I'm going to show you right now, this is another sneak peek behind in our community, when you have your software set up properly, and you have those other pieces in place, which is having an edge and creating a game plan, having stocks you plan to buy, putting them in your software, having stocks you plan to short sell, putting those in your software. Doesn't matter if you're day trading or swing trading. And here's the statement. When you are prepared, the trading part of trading is easy because now your software is simply telling you, okay, these are the stocks we plan to buy. And now the software is telling you, here's the strongest stocks of that list of stocks you plan to buy. So it doesn't matter if you have 200 stocks in that list or if you have 5 stocks in that list. It only matters that the software right now is saying these are the ones that meet the criteria. This is a huge problem for people. They create the game plan and they're like, Pete, I had 5 stocks in my game plan today and 3 of them didn't do anything I expected them to do. So what do you think I'm telling them? So wait a minute. I just want to make sure I understand this. You planned 5 stocks. 2 of them did exactly what you expected them to do. Yes, trade those 2. Who cares what the other 2 are doing? So if you came into the day saying, I want to buy these 5 stocks, 3 of those stocks go straight down, do nothing you expected them to do, but 2 of them, even 1 of them does exactly what you game planned for. You know what? Go get paid. That's the one you lean on. I can't stress this enough. You put a trade on, it moves in your favor, manage it. You put a trade on, it moves against you, manage it. You do a game plan. Those stocks that do what you expected them to do, those are the ones you're supposed to get paid on. Stop trying to be right. Stop trying to prove your genius. Trading is hard, but you need a process. When you have a process, it becomes infinitely easier and faster to get to the other side because it's the process that helps you make money, not your ability to predict. I have losing trades all week. That's not the part of trading that matters to me. I accept the fact that there's going to be losing trades. It's kicking out the losers and keeping them as small losses. And then again, having the habit, the discipline, whatever you want to call it, to hold your winning trades longer. So if you didn't watch that video that we did on Tuesday about the exit is the secret, go back and watch that. I'll post that here in the video so you can go back and watch that again. So has the stock market crash ended? No, it has not. But if we go back over to the charts and we take a little bit of a longer term look, this is the chart that we're looking at. What do we want to see next week? Now think about this. We're prepping next week. What do we want to see next week? We're reversing today, but we are inside of the previous week. All that heavy selling last week, this week's price action is still inside last week's. So next week, I want to see well bid and close near the high. If that happens, then we can start to get a little bit more share size on buying opportunities. If we break to the downside, I'm going to be aggressive on the short side. But let's actually even get more clear on that. The big picture is still pointing down. Not even a question about that. The economic climate has not changed at all. This is a relief rally after all that bad news is now priced into the market. Everybody's still trying to figure out what's going on. Jerome Powell spoke for 2 days this week, still had the market kind of bouncing back and forth, but positive. So this is a really big week. The market expanded to the downside, volatility, boom, big red candles, right? But now this week we've consolidated, and that's what we have here. big push down, right? But now we're consolidating. We have to look next week of where do we trade outside of this relief. Now, here's the problem, or the solution, I should say, for a lot of people. A lot of people now are going to be like guessing and making all these predictions about what's going to happen next. If you want to have all that stress removed out of your trading, if you have an edge, obviously we have an edge. This is what I'm walking, small part of what we're walking everybody through right now. Just sit back and say, look, I'm going to let the market tip its hand. I know that if I want to be a buyer this week, I'm still next week, that I'm fighting all of this selling pressure for 2022. So if I'm looking for buying opportunities, I'm going to be a little bit more inclined to be trading what people call momentum. As long as those stocks remain well bid, higher highs and higher lows on whatever time frame you're looking at, you continue to trail it up, buying opportunities that have bearish order flow. Some stocks, like we just talked about before, have bullish order flow. So some of those stocks are actually rallying, and you could be a little bit more aggressive. But if the market breaks out of this consolidation next week to the downside and moves in this direction again, that is the more aggressive side of the market. That's where the smart money is dumping supply on the market. So if you're looking to track and piggyback what the smart money is doing, the aggressive side to hold trades longer is short selling. So the game plan for me for next week, and even today, quite honestly, is any buying opportunities that don't have perfect order flow stacked, I'm still trading them if they meet the minimum criteria, but I'm booking profits quicker into momentum. Anything on the downside, if it breaks through, I'm being a little bit more aggressive with holding those trades longer and maybe even getting a little more share size, because just one good trade could make your entire week. So I want to walk you through that again. I'll just give you two examples from this week that we just talked about. We just talked about Chevron, and you can see the bigger bearish pressure and probably see it a little bit cleaner here on the daily chart, right? So that short sale yesterday was a little bit more aggressive because we're trading in the direction of that selling pressure. But if we go back out to the NVAX trade and we make a determination on whether or not there's buying pressure, prior to this is still bearish. So if we're looking at bearish but short-term buying opportunity, this window of opportunity for the last 2 days was a little bit tighter and booking into momentum as soon as it stopped. So what does that mean, right? It means that you need to have some way of reading the tape, some way of tape reading, some way of reading the order flow and determining, is it a wide open road right now and I could press it a little bit, or are we're still going in the direction I want, but is it kind of like a rubbernecking delay or stop and go traffic, which means that you're probably going to be a little bit quicker to take those profits off the table. So these are kind of things that they're not hard to understand. You just need to have a number that says, is it above or below that level? If it's above there, that means something to me. If it's below there, that means something as well. These are the kind of interactions that when you have a coach or a mentor or a great community like we do, we have amazing people in our community. You have these types of conversations, which actually brings me now. I want to talk about two quick things, and then we're going to get into last night's coaching call. So if we head on over here, obviously we're talking about Elon Musk and all the publicity right now with Tesla and everything that's going on, because I get tons of questions about Tesla stock and whether or not I think it's a buying opportunity down here. Now, again, keep in mind what we just said. Can you look at this chart of Tesla stock right now and determine, are the buyers or sellers in charge of this stock right now? Ready? Go. At best, it's neutral, but you have to admit it's bearish to neutral right now. So if you're learning to stack the order flow and determining when you want to be a buyer of a stock, you're guessing that that stock has bottomed out, which is not a good position to be in. So is Elon Musk and all those other things he's got going on in the universe right now helping his company? Absolutely not. And the market is reacting to that. So I am trading Tesla right now, but I'm not looking for a longer term position. It's got a good daily volatility every day, but it's not really something that is obvious. It's in probably a 4 or 5 week trading range, but prior to that range, it's still bearish. So you know the way that we map things out to determine a potential change of trend. And this is kind of cool because we could do this together. On the way down, that's the change of trend. And now we're kind of literally just stuck in this box. That's where the trend broke. That's the prior move of the trend. Right now, there is nothing to do in this stock other than short-term trades. As of right now, Tesla is in selling pressure. So he's absolutely not helping the equation. Big thing we want to talk about now is the bank stress test. Again, we were talking about yesterday in our community. If you were around in 2008 and you were talking about all these stress tests were in the news like every 90 minutes. They're not as powerful as they are now because I think they took care of things. But this is a big deal as far as a potential bullish catalyst for all of the bank stocks. So we're going to do a quick scan right now to give you an idea. You might have to take a screenshot of this, of the ideas in the banking sector. We're going to look at regional banks and diversified banks. So let's actually take a look at those right now. So if we head on over into Finviz, which is our favorite scanning tool, we go over to financial. We're going to go over to at least 1 million shares per day. Let me actually zoom that in for you. And we're only going to be looking, we're not going to look at any ETFs or anything like that. An average volume of at least $1. So we got some liquidity and we also have volatility. But now we're going to work our way over here into banks. We're going to start out with diversified, and that brought it down to 6. And these are pretty much the major banks that everybody pays attention to. So if we go over to the charts and we take a look at where they are, you can see that they've been pretty beat up. So now we need to, as we just said about the market, same thing with these banks. Now the news is out, right? Interest rates are going up. The stress test came out. What I'm looking for now is, does this news that is now done, they passed, will this now be a bullish catalyst to start trading these stocks on the upside? I'm not going to guess a bottom. I'm going to watch from one day to the next. At the minimum, can they go well bid on the daily charts? You have a candle here, and then the next candle. Does it make a higher high, a higher low, and close near the highs? If that happens, then maybe we're cooking with gas, especially if that happens on big volume today. If that carries through to next week, then I'm going to start to take a look at these banks. So here's the list again. All right. You want to take a quick snapshot of that. So this is the banks diversified. So let me actually go over here to overview so you can take a quick shot. And then we're going to hop on over to regional banks, which this list will be a little bit different. And you can see some of the smaller banks, or banks like PNC, some of the banks that you might not necessarily know, like Citigroup and those guys. So that's the big list of ideas on the bank side. And the catalyst, the reason I might be looking at these, well, I'm definitely looking at them, to look to start to build a position. If I get that price action, then I plan to look for some new ideas. The last thing I want to talk about is our coaching call from last night. Again, I like to give everybody this to finish the day so that you can take a snapshot of that and think about exactly how to do it. But the big thing I want to talk about here is this, okay? The first 3 things here, all right? Eliminating or reducing the overwhelm, how to get paid for the hard work that you're putting in, how professional traders work the game plan and watch list, and what to do if you have too many good ideas. So what is that? First of all, what does that tell you? If one of the questions on our coaching call is, I have too many good ideas, how do I manage that? Well, the number one way to do that is to make sure that your software is set up properly, because you have ideas going into the day, ideas going into the week, but then the market opens. If you're a day trader, or the market opens on Monday and you're a swing trader, your game plan now has to translate into the ideas that are the best ideas right now, which is why the very first thing that we do with new people that come into the boot camp is make sure their software is set up properly. We have 5 or 6 implementation calls over the first 14 days, but the number one call is setting up your software and setting up your watch list, because I want you to be able, if I'm calling out ideas and the community is giving you ideas, you want to be able to find them and look at them and see the same thing that we do. But more importantly, it reduces all of the overwhelm and stress that people have in the market, because the very first problem we help you overcome is setting up your software, setting up your watch list, setting up your charts, so that if I'm calling out ideas like I just showed you before, you understand, you can pull it up and say, okay, I see what he's doing. Or you'd be like, I don't see what he's doing. I need to ask a question. And that's how we accelerate your learning curve pretty quickly. So I'm going to give you another peek behind the curtain so that you can understand the process of setting up the charts. So I'm going to take it behind the scenes into our community, and we're going to go over here into platform setups, and we're going to go into chart setups. So you can see here that just this live implementation is 1 hour and 20 minutes, where I'm walking you through how to set up this software and everything. And by the way, I'm I always end Friday this way because I know the weekend's coming up, and I want to give you some things to really think about. Okay, you have some spare time this weekend, or you want to level up your trading, turn your cell phone off, pour a cup of coffee, and say, I'm going to set up my charts so that it gives me ideas. It gives me the stocks that from my game plan that are in play right now. But the part I want you to look at is the bottom part here when you see the outline of actually what we do. Okay, so this is the hour and 20-minute call that we had on setting it up. So you need to have all of these core stuff on your charts. But this right here, setting up the watch list and having the correct columns in your watch list, critical to be successful. It doesn't matter if you're day trading stocks or if you're swing trading stocks, doing all that hard work. And if we go back to that question again, because it's a burning question, is how to get paid for the hard work that you're putting in. Think about it. How many of us right now are doing all the work? We're reading the books, watching the YouTube videos, right? And trying to put all that work in, and you make a list of stocks, and then the market opens and the stuff is flying all over the place. When you set your charts up properly, when you set up your trading platform properly, when you set up your watch list, again, we teach you how to do that in just 90 minutes. So you're done, it's all set up, and now there's just tweaking and understanding how to trade. That's where trading becomes infinitely easier, because you're no longer guessing. Remember what I just said. You could have 5 stocks. You could have 50 stocks in your watch list that you're like, yeah, I like all 50. It's crazy. All 50 of these are good buying opportunities. But then after the day opens and after the week opens, you need then to sort them properly so that you stack the order flow so that only the best of those ideas float to the top. And then you're just basically sitting back, having coffee, and you're saying, okay, now I'm just going to look for risk reward. That's where trading, you quickly become a more confident trader, and you move up the scale of getting closer and closer to profitability and then consistent profitability, because you have an edge and because your software is set up to tell you when the edge is happening now. And that's the big thing, because a lot of people can find ideas, but they're missing when to get in because they're chasing everything as opposed to just watching the software and saying, oh, look at that one floating up to the top. Let me look and see if there's an entry. That's trading at the highest levels. And I hope I can inspire you with these videos to really think, is it a tough market, or do you just need to be a little bit more prepared? I'm willing to bet if you're a hard worker and you know what you're looking at, you just need to go to that other side just a little bit and get more prepared. So the software is doing the heavy lifting for you after you found the ideas that you like to trade. Look, I'd love to have you in my boot camp. I'd love to have you in my community. If you want to find out about that, you can click down. There's a link below the video. I'd love to see you in there. But if you have questions about this, leave comments below the video. I would absolutely love to hear from you about some of the stuff we talked about today, as well as make sure you click that link below the video to join us at that Wealth 365 Summit, which starts pretty quick, I think in about a week. But again, like I said, there's 6 days of speakers trading all different kinds of securities. So make sure you get in there and sign up for that. It's worth it, and it's free. There's absolutely no cost to it. So click that link below. I'm going to head out, everybody. I got to get ready for the game plan. Have an awesome day of trading. Watch this video more than once. Definitely give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe if I provided some value. If I earned it from you today, please do me a favor, click that, and I'd really appreciate it. Have an awesome day, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. I want to tell you how much it means to me. Take care now.